Okay, no? More light? Okay, let's talk about the channel. Hi, and welcome back. So thus far, I've published 4 videos, and they have had 100 views or so. So I can't really say that I'm making a much difference here. To put it bluntly, I've used these 6 months to learn anything about film gear, drafting script, shooting, editing, and publishing videos. And the obvious truth is that there's still, quite a lot of room to be better. But I think I am slowly getting to a place in which I can kind of start to concentrate on the content instead of fearing that I'll push the wrong button and I'll, lose everything. So what I'm trying to do now is to find better ways to present my historical interpretations in a format that is somewhat new but potentially very effective. I will be posting historical stories and arguments, but I also kind of want to, present a bit more about the historian's work. What tools do we use? Where do we work? How do we work? How do I read? How do I write? All these sort of meta things that are kind of, if not left out, usually from these processes of, TV documents, for example. You never see, there might be a B-roll where a historian is in the archives and making, writing or doing research. But I kind of want to go a bit more deeper in that kind of setting, and to kind of show a bit more in detail what the work is about, how it's done. So first, we always have an incomplete set of information. We have to work with what has survived in the attics or in the archives or buried in the ground. Well, second is, and I think this is more important, it's the way we interpret these sources. It's always personally biased. Ideologies, views of life in general always affect this interpretation. And if someone tells you that they are completely objective in regard to historical matters, I would take that with a pinch of salt. So here's the deal. There are no right answers. History is all about interpreting pieces of information of previous times that has survived to us. That's it. It is as simple as that. I believe that this secret makes history as a field of expertise and communication a bit vulnerable. The way historians have traditionally communicated to each other and to the public is through lectures, articles, and books. And in them you can have fantastic arguments about events and ideas and discuss the little decisions, the caveats, and the compromises that you have made in order to structure an interpretation of sources. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that books and articles are very useful, and they are here to stay. They've been here for 2,000 years. They're not going to go away. But as these arguments become more complex and more detail-oriented, the more they are in the hands of professionals. And academic books are aimed to be bought mostly by libraries around the world and read only by very few people who use the texts in relation to their own views and arguments. It is a very specialized field of expertise. The other ways are the new ways of communicating directly to the people on services such as YouTube. And as the result of communicating history, we'll be moving away from articles and books towards a way that is more accessible to the general public. And here is the problem. There are interpretations that are simply wrong. There are too many sources that show that a thing like the Holocaust has happened, and claiming that it didn't is just simply misleading, deceitful, or pure propaganda. So the question becomes, what do we do with this problem? And I think that writing books and longer argument is absolutely necessary. But to make historical knowledge more accessible, I honestly believe that historians should be getting more engaged with more popular media such as Wikipedia, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. Here's my point. My point is, I don't want to correct everything. That's not my intention. But what I want to do, and what I think that historians as a profession should do, is to kind of move a bit closer towards the reading public. And here I believe my input can be valuable, in addition to being a traditional academic historian. And what I found very liberating on working with these videos is that it allows me to do things differently. I can push to be a bit more specific when I need to be. I also like to dive in head first into a subject, kind of tear it apart a bit and be bored with it and just simply move forward. I don't have to engage for 4 years to do a monograph on the Dutch tulip bubble. Okay, so moving fast from one thing to another is somewhat frowned upon in the traditional industry, but it's very okay here in the YouTube. However, I do think that even if the topics I discuss here can be quite lightly taken, I believe that whatever I produce here has to be done in a manner that satisfies the central features of historical research. I mean, I've discussed about this before, but I think this is really important. The fact is that history is kind of public domain. Everybody likes telling stories, but I really think, as a kind of professional historian, I feel obliged that I really should pay a lot of attention to the ways in which I present my arguments and narratives and the stories. And I think that this would be a good kind of general principle as well. Okay, so what it is that I expect from myself and from this channel in the short term. Where do I see this channel at the end of the year? The original plan was that I do a video every week. I'll have 50 videos by the end of the year. Okay, it's not that simple, and it takes way too much time, especially in the beginning. And I mean, nothing is worse than trying to learn a new thing in a hurry and be overwhelmed by it and then, lose interest to it. I aim to ramp up the production from this very slow pace, from what I've been doing, 4 videos in 6 months, something like that, to, about doing 1 video every 2 weeks. And this year has been a learning experience for me, and I'm still trying to learn new skills and to do so in a very public manner, which is a bit of a stress a source for stress. And it's really not natural for me to do this kind of work in public, but that's something that I need to work on. For another 6 months or so, I'm not really paying much attention to followers, views, or other metrics. I'm trying to learn a skill here, and then move to a next phase. I do hope that one day I monetize this channel, but for now it's really not an issue for me. I'm still developing the product. To end this video, I'll push a bit more on the future and try to answer where do I want to be in a year from now. Obviously things can go either way. The first option is, well, not the first, but the other option is that I might not be doing this at all anymore. Okay, that's an option. But I think the mindset that I have, and the mindset I've been kind of pushing in this video, is also valid. That is, to be, I have this skill set that I really want to kind of make use of. So this is my way of trying to push my knowledge to other people. And I think that there's probably 3 different types of channels that focus on historical matters on YouTube. And first is the academic ones, in which an academic presentation is recorded and they made public. And they serve a very important purpose. That is, spreading the very best historical knowledge that there is. The second category, which is kind of on the other end of the spectrum, is these very popularized cartoonish videos that are more entertaining than accurate. And they seem to be very popular, and I have nothing against them, as long as they're done with respect to historical methods. And sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. The third section is historical TV documents, which is just like uploaded to YouTube. And there's a stamp of establishment and quality, but unfortunately you never really know if they're good or not. There's a niche that connects all these 3 categories, and this is what I aim for myself in the next 12 months or so. So in other words, what I try to provide with this channel is, first and foremost, my productions are made with respect to historical methods. I don't want to slip into stereotypes and caricatures. And I want that my professions aim to fulfill kind of high standards, but I understand my limitations. So I'll be posting historical stories and arguments, but I also kind of the ways the historians work, what tools we use, where do we work, how do we work, make more general sense about the work of a historian, but also to tell narratives about history.